This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. Well, not draft talk today, thankfully. I'm glad because the draft is not where I specialize in Oilers coverage at all, as you guys found out during that live streaming yesterday. But it's Sunday afternoon. Cat's having a nap as per normal. I could let you just watch her for 10 minutes. I'm sure 90% of you would be fine with that. But we got our cap figure for next year. $81.5 million for the next season upcoming. Which means we have to ask ourselves, where does that leave our Edmonton Oilers in the whole cap hell situation? Well, for that I've got a graphic today to hopefully explain it as best I can. Draisaitl, McDavid, Kassian is the pseudo top line at this point if you're the Edmonton Oilers based on what happened at the draft. Now, yes, there's free agency to come. Yes, there's some asterisks to be done. Yes, there's a lot of work to get through before we get to training camp and see that Draisaitl, McDavid, and Kassian are the top line to start the year, because we all know how that worked with Nuge, McDavid, and Ratty to start last year. Now, you've got Joakim Nygard, who's coming in on the left wing. This is just crappy projections. This is just spreading the cap and showing you what's realistically in our lineup scheduled for next year at this point. Nugent Hopkins down the middle at $6 million. Then you've got a question mark, right? We have no clue, not a clue who's going to be on Nuge's wing at the start of this year. We thought it might be a guy like Jesse Puljujärvi. However, we all know how that turned out, and it turned out very, very poor. Now you've got Sam Gagner at $3.15 million on the left wing or right wing on the third line. Colby Cave, who was the, by all means, third line center last year. And then Jujhar Khaira, $1.5 million top end estimated if we re-sign him. Obviously, not re-signing Ty Ratty, not re-signing Toby Reeder frees up that money to re-sign Jujhar Khaira. I thought if it came down to a crunch, you almost have to choose to not re-sign Jujhar Khaira, but in this instance, I will play with it and I will let you go to town with a 1.5 cap hit for Jujhar Khaira. That's where you get the $44 million. Now you've got Lucic. I know I've said don't submit to having him on the fourth line. We can find a trading partner for him, but at this point, you got to submit just in terms of space note the cap and making sure you're spending correctly this summer. Then you've got a question mark on that fourth line center. Obviously, Brodziak can't be the fourth line center. So who do you have there? We have to find a hole filler for that spot. Whether it be somebody like Cooper Marody from the minors or whatever. But who knows? Who friggin' knows? And then you've got Joseph Gambardella, who I project to crack the NHL roster to start the year. If he doesn't, Josh Curry will. And it's about the same cap hit, so figure in the same numbers. The $44 million that I have there is an above what the actual figure is. The figure's like something like 43.6 or 5 or 7, something like that. So 44 just chops us and saves us right there. So we're good. Now Clefbaum, Nurse, Larson, Sekera, Russell, Benning, Person. That I can't make that any easier. I realistically can't sit here and evaluate the defense any different than what we currently have. Until we make a move to trade a defenseman, there is no evaluating this defense cap-wise any differently. Other than, yeah, okay, you can have Caleb Jones in there for $400,000 cheaper if you need to as a seventh defenseman. Or you could have Ethan Bear. You can play around by less than $500,000. That's not enough to be visible on our cap when it comes down to realistically finding the plugs in our lineup to fit those holes. Almost botched the line. Anyways, the defense comes in at $24 million, thereabout. So right there, you're already sitting at $68 million. So okay, fine and dandy. You see where I'm going, right? $68 million. Who do we have goaltender-wise? Well, you have on the NHL roster, cap hit-wise at this point, you have Mikko Koskinen. Mikko Koskinen at 4.5 for the next 3 years. It's either going to be one of the best deals the NHL has ever signed under Peter Chiarelli, or I don't even need to say it. I don't want to say it because I'm leaning the other way. We got to go the other way on that one. And we have nobody as our backup yet. It's a question mark. So that leaves us in goaltending committed at this point. It's not an estimated. It's a bang on 4.5 million in cap. So what do you have? What do you have altogether? Well, that leaves you 44 plus 24, 68 million, plus 4.5 is about, well, ladies and gentlemen, 72.5. Now, yes, obviously there's the buyouts of 1.6 million, but when you factor in the 44 million in the cap for the forwards that I estimated and the 24 estimated for the defense, and then bang on for Mikko Koskinen, that's where it's made up. It's like 600,000 here, 600,000 there. It's clean slate, you're good to go kind of math. So that's where I'm leaving myself room for error, room for margin, just to be right and wrong, just by estimating it to make it easy. 44 plus 24 plus 4.5. As an NHL GM, anything within $1 million, you can get creative. That's no problem. So to leave that extra space there, I'm fine. We know the buyouts are there. Pouliot and Graba will be fine. Graba comes off the books at the end of this year. We're good. So that's pretty bold of me, though, to say we have $9 million in cap space if we have Joseph Gambardella in the NHL lineup, because you've got to assume that Brandon Manning is going to be dealt. And that's the biggest question. Are you going to be able to kill off Brandon Manning? That's the problem. Are you going to be able to do it? Can you do it? Can I do it? Probably not. Can Ken Holland do it? Hopefully. Hopefully Ken Holland can do it. And we find a solution to that issue. We've looked at this a couple times, and that's always probably my number one, is sitting here saying we've got to find a way to deal Brandon Manning, get that cap hit off the books, take a seventh, right? The same approach as the Lucic. Clean house. Clean house. Now, the other number two, this is the one I haven't had on this list up until this point. You've got to go out and assume that Jesse Puljujärvi is in Europe, because if you trade Jesse, we're either getting a first-round pick, I'd hope, or else you're getting yourself a top 9 forward who's going to be an impact player, not only on the cap, but as well on the ice. And that's exactly where you'd be looking, that blank spot on Ryan Nugent-Hopkins' wing. Does it work? Doesn't it? Who knows? Let's find out. Now, you can mutter all about that as well, but you got to look at this. That leaves $9 million in cap space. You've got 2 to 3 forwards to fill, right? Obviously, do we want Gambardella there? Do we want Kara there? Do we want, what are you doing? What if we trade somebody? What if we trade Gagne, for instance, or Lucic? What do you do? What do you do? Hands going crazy because I don't know what to do. But you sit there and you can ask yourself 100 ways to Sunday what the solution is in terms of solving the issue up front. Realistically, just sign 2 to 3 forwards and a goalie. That means a maximum of 4 players for $9 million. Well, what is that? That's $2.25 million per player. $2.25. What can you get in that range? That's the question, and that is the answer we need to find. I don't have that ready. That's why I'm grimacing, because I didn't have that quite ready. Let's go over to Cap Friendly, my friends, and players and free agents, and I will show you what was available in the $2 million range that I'm talking about last year. So for 2.25, you've got guys like Brian Boyle, who's 34. You've got that's defense. Riley Sheehan, who was 2.15. Obviously, Toby Reeder right in there. You've got Sam Bennett, but he's an RFA. Don't worry about it. Jonas Donskoy, right? We could possibly pick him up. We've mentioned that name. Joel Armia, who played in Montreal last year. Ryan Dzingel, due for a big pay raise. Don't worry about it. And then you've got Patrick Maroon. Probably not. Anyone else? Brett Ritchie out of Dallas, probably due for a pay raise. Michael Furland, you might be able to go spend that extra $25,000 and get him, or $250,000, pardon me. Stefan Noason, Oscar Lindberg, and you've got Zemgus Girgensson, right? There's a bunch of guys, but I think a lot of those guys are RFAs, if I'm not mistaken. So you see what I mean? That's the guys in that range. Obviously, another name mentioned is Brett Connolly. Yes, the goaltender-wise, you've got Peter Mrazek, but I think he's very much so due for a pay raise. Other than that, you've got Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, Marcus Granlund, who's still an RFA, never mind. Then you've got, who else in there? Brennan Tanev, who's a UFA. So there's a lot of names that Oilers fans might be, quote unquote, familiar with, to say the least. I think you could say we're familiar with most of those names. But honestly, are you willing, as an Oilers fan, to go bet $2.25 million on two guys to score 10 plus goals? Are you? I don't know if I am after the Toby Reeder mistake, but you have no other option. That's the thing, right? We have no other option. So we know the math. It's now in the hands of General Manager Ken Holland to get creative and not do what Zap's doing and get to work. That's all it is. This cap space mess, very easy to resolve, especially if you deal with Brendan Manning, but you got to be able to do it creatively a little bit, and I think this roster shows you exactly why. So guys, let me know your thoughts. If we can deal with Brendan Manning, are we as doom and gloom as everyone makes us out to be, or are we actually a little better off than we might have thought coming into the whole situation? 81.5 million cap. Damn, would have been nice to have that 83 million, but is this worst case scenario, or is this a chance to actually get creative and maybe do something that maybe a lot of teams didn't expect us to do this offseason? Guys, let me know in the comment section below. I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. I don't think she's even poked her head up once. You can tell me in the comments if she did. For Zap, I'm Tyson, this is Dolynny TV. Like I said, I'm up on out of here.